Hey everyone, and welcome to the Beyond Life and Fitness podcast. I'm Cheryl Patton.
And I'm Megan Prince.
We started this podcast as a way to connect with more people who are struggling to fit it all in. The workouts, the food, kids, work, and relationships.
We know that we're not perfect, but we hope that through our struggles and our mistakes and our failures and our successes that we can help more people through their challenges and be successful. So if you want some tips and tricks to help you along your journey to be the best version of yourself, then this is it.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Beyond Your Life and Fitness. Today we are going to chat about 7 reasons why your workouts might not be working anymore. And so I'm just going to get right into it. These are in no particular order. Reason number 1 I have is you're working out too much. Mm-hmm. So I've seen this definitely with clients. I have been through it myself. Have you overtrained? Yep. And so I find that working out too much is very common with, people that are definitely more into fitness. They may be called fitness fanatics, and the beginners. So the people who are like getting into it, they're super eager. They just want to do as much as possible because they figure more is better when that's not necessarily the case. And with us people that have been in the fitness industry for quite a while, sometimes we get into overtraining because we too can get caught up that we just need to keep doing a bit more so that we can stay either in a particular shape or condition, feel like we're still doing what we can do when we were back in our 20s or even like in our early 30s. But the problem is that when we work out too much, we're not giving our bodies the time, we're not allowing our bodies to adapt and recover. So we're just slowly digging ourselves down into a hole. And then until you reach the bottom of that hole, then do you normally realize that, I am not in a good position. Yeah.
And do like adrenals, then your adrenals are like failing and you're tired all the time and you're not enjoying your workouts and you're not motivated. It's because you're not giving yourself time to enjoy other things in life. It's just working out constantly all the time. And you're not giving yourself rest. And I know when my kids were like 1 and 4 or whatever, however, when they were really young, I could nurse all night, wake up at 6, go to the gym, do my day. Like I could be like crazy. And I was like, oh my God, it's like when we were younger, we used to drink and you get up and be able to go to work. I'm like, oh my God, now I'd be out for 5 days. So as we age too, more is definitely not always better at all because our bodies take longer to heal and we see it with senior citizens. If they like fall or get a cut or something, it takes forever. Whereas little kids, it's like 2-3 days and they're done, like they're good to go. So you can see the difference of like overtraining. Your body used to be able to recover or deal with overtraining, and now as we get older in age, our bodies are like, oh my God, I need like
it can't
3 days to recover.
It can't handle that stress. So I know for me, when I was definitely in it, so this would have been in early 2020. So we are going into first round of shutdowns. So I was potentially still training to do a show that May. Plus, I moved everything online. So I was teaching online live. So I was physically doing the workouts 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Plus my own training. 5 days a week. And then it went to 6. And then it went to 7.
Yeah.
And the amount of fatigue that I felt, it was just like you're a walking zombie. A walking zombie. And, my joints didn't hurt, but I know that can sometimes be another effect that people would feel. But sleep disturbances, just not being able to sleep as well, or you're just in and out of that sleep cycle. So again, sleep is another one that's on my list as well. But definitely just that I've never felt that level of just fatigue before. Like it was wild.
Yeah, I think overtraining for most people, and if I also think to myself too, that if I can go train the next day, or I can train for 2 hours, or I can do that, then my workout wasn't sufficient enough, like hard enough. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, if I can get back into the gym and do legs the next day after legs, then I didn't train progressively overloading my muscles if I can get back and do that, right? Like it's the same when we're doing a set and we're doing like 10 to 12 reps and you take 30 seconds and you can go again, then it obviously wasn't hard enough. Like I know some people do training like that, but yeah, if you need the rest in between, that's when we build, that's when we rest, that's when we recuperate, that's when we like are able to like build back that muscle, right? Because if not, you're not building it when you're training. You're building it when you're resting. And people, most of the time, it's hard for overtrainers to slow down. And I find for me, when I overtrain and I get in that mindset of overtraining and doing too much, that's when I feel like I stray from my diet. Because my body's so stressed out.
It needs those carbs.
It needs the carbs. It needs the calories. It needs whatever. When I just do a nice, solid, good workout and then move on with the rest of my day, then I'm more present with my emotions and my feelings and all that stuff. But when you're overwhelmed and you're overworked and you're overstressed, I feel like that's when all of the other stuff starts to like creep in because you're so tired.
Yeah.
And you're so overwhelmed.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
And then in conjunction with working out too much, you also have the flip side, which is number 2, not doing enough. And so I'm sure you've seen people like this in the gym. I've definitely seen people like this, right? They're doing the same weight all the time for weeks, months, sometimes even years on end. So you're not giving the body any reason to adapt.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it to get stronger. There's no reason for it to change. And then people wonder why, because they keep doing the same thing, why they're not seeing any changes. Right? So we definitely have both sides of the coin there.
And while we still want our workouts to not be boring, there has to be a level of progressive overload so that your body can push through, change your weights. Like, that's why I got back to writing down my workouts, because people, like, you walk into the gym and you think you know what you lifted last week, but you don't really. So then it's hard to just push yourself. Like, how can you remember every machine and every weight you did on every machine? Like, I can't remember that, and I've been training for 25 years. So I think writing it down so you can visually see it and be like, oh, I'll add 2.5 pounds, or I'll add 5 pounds, or whatever, so you can visually see it. If not, I feel like, that's when you don't know.
No.
If you're pushing yourself enough.
Exactly. Yeah, totally agree. And then, again, sort of tying into that is your workouts are stale. So, again, it's the same workout routine.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't change. Or you're always doing the same style of workout.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be a huge dramatic overhaul. It can just be a tweak in the rep counts. It could be a tweak in the angles that you're using. It could be a tweak in the tempo. Like the tweaks can be endless as to how you can change things. And this is sometimes too where coaches come in handy, because then they can show you what these other alternatives are that can just open up your world to different variations of the same movement.
Right.
Yeah. So we have working out too much, not doing enough. Your workouts are just starting to get stale. So again, you're not, that intensity is just not there in order to help move forward. And this is, I think, one of the biggest one, or the number one reason why workouts don't work for a lot of people, is just they're not consistent.
Yeah.
We bring up consistency all the time, and I like to call it yo-yo training.
Yeah.
Yo-yo training. So they'll train for say 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then take the summer off.
Yes.
Or they'll, whatever the reason is, right? Or they'll go to Florida for 4 or 5 months and then come back. So, and when they're away or during these downtimes in the summer, sure, they might go for walks, they might play golf, but again, you're not being consistent in challenging your body to continuously, to get stronger. Yeah.
And consistency, like we talk about it all the time, just run it into the ground, because it's just getting there and creating the habits that you do every single day. And yes, every single workout's not going to be awesome. Every single workout's not going to feel good. You're not going to be super strong. I've had weeks where I look at my book and I'm like, oh my God, I am not lifting that today.
Yep.
So I just change it and I'm like, okay, I'm still going to do the exercise. But in my weight workout, I used to always push. When I was younger, I could. But then there's some weeks now, and maybe it follows with my cycle too, and I haven't tracked that at all. But like weeks where I'm like, okay, I squatted, I don't know, 100 pounds or something. And then the next week, I'm like, oh my God, like I could do 80 and that is pushing it for today. And then I just write that down. And then I look and I'm like, okay, it's okay. It's not that how every single week can you add weight to something? Like for 8 weeks, say if you're in an 8-week program, like every single week, you're not going to, like we talked about, it's not linear. Fat loss isn't linear. No. Nothing's linear. Because what if you didn't have sleep? What if you didn't eat? What if, like, all those factors play into it? So I'm like, stop being so hard on yourself. You're still here. You're still squatting. And maybe you're not doing what you did last week. But still, it's still be consistent, get there, and just do the movement. Yeah.
And you're better off being consistent 2 days a week than doing this like 6 months on, 2, 3, 4, 5 months off. 6 months on, another few months off. Like, you're way better just to do something twice a week for a whole 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, than to do like 4 or 5 days a week for 6 months. And then all of a sudden life throws you a curveball and then you quit. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get back into it. Back to square one, or even like a little bit into the negatives. Yes. And then, it's just this whole yo-yo up and down that we see it with dieting. Training is the exact same thing. Yeah. So I think not being consistent is definitely, I think, the number one reason why working out or workouts don't work. And then we had sort of touched on this a little bit. Like your diet isn't productive. Your diet isn't doing what it needs to do to help your body move forward, right? Are you consuming enough calories? Are you consuming enough of the right calories, i.e., protein is a huge one in that, in order to help your body to recover and help those muscles grow and repair.
And I know we talk about people do keto and stuff, and some people do great on it, but my muscles need carbs. Like, I need carbohydrates to be able to like train, right? And to be able to have that energy. So for me, for sure, when it comes down to diet, you definitely can know. And I know, like, going out for like a meal with a girlfriend or something for dinner, and then the next day I'm like, oh my God, I'm so powerful, because then I had a little bit of extra calories and stuff, right? So you can push yourself. If you feel like you don't have a lot of energy, then you're probably not eating enough to be able to like add in that extra activity,
to increase that intensity level, to kind of take your fitness to the next level. Right? Yeah, totally, 100%. And I can relate to that. And as you know, and I like, as we come out of, now again, these are extremes when we get prepped down for a show, right? So as we start to increase those calories and we increase the carbs in conjunction with the protein again, it's incredible how much energy all of a sudden you regain.
You're like, whoa,
after coming out of that rabbit hole. And then the last one that I have on here is your hormones are just not balanced. And again, like, we're not doctors, we're not naturopaths, we're not anything to do with the medical field, but I highly believe that this is something that you should get tested. And if you're able to get tested kind of like in your prime years, so like in your 20s, and you got a nice benchmark. So when you start to notice things in your like mid to late 30s starting to shift and change, you can get those hormones tested again, and now you have a comparison. Right? How is your estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, all your cortisols, like how are all those in comparison to when things were like
less stressful,
doing amazing, right?
Which, you look back at all those times and you're like, I thought back, oh my God, I remember the time when all I had to do was take care of myself.
Right.
And I thought that was hard back then. I'm like, oh my God, like this. And now I'm like, oh, we're like 5 people deep right now at my house. And I'm like still trying, right? But yeah, when you when life takes a turn and you have babies and you get pregnant and you have hormones, and then you turn 40 and then you turn 50 and things change. Yeah, you definitely have to pay attention to that stuff. And I think people say, like, as soon as I hit a certain age, like, I saw changes or I saw differences. I think it more comes down to our body's ability to, like, process stress. Like we said, overtraining. As we get older, we're not able to process stress like we used to. We're not able to, like, get rid of the cortisol as fast as we did before. So it kind of just sits there. And that's when we're, like, our hormones are, like, not able to kind of work through what it used to be able to work through. So not necessarily because you hit a certain age can you not lose the weight. It's just that your body needs more rest, more care, and more protein so that it can do it. Because I've seen people that are 55, 50. I know one girl that I follow, her mom's like, I don't even know, 75, maybe 80. She just started training a couple years ago. Like, she looks kick-ass. Like, I'm like, wow. So you can do anything at any age. But yeah, it comes down to, like, when we're at this time in our life right now at 40 where you're raising kids and you're working and it's, like, very stressful, it's you have to kind of just give yourself that time to rest and take care of yourself. Because if you don't, that's when you're not going to be able to see the changes. Because
and that's where becoming consistent, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, 1 or 2 days a week, is more important than trying to be consistent 4 or 5 days a week.
Right.
And then just saying, screw it, I can't do this anymore, because you're just in such a state of overwhelm. And then you just drop and fall off the wagon until all of a sudden now your kids are older, more independent. Maybe they've even moved out. It could be 10, 15 years down the road and they're like, oh my gosh, what has happened? Where did my body go? Right? And it's just because you made a choice, you made a decision. And it's not that family is not important, but there is always a way that you can be consistent at something 1 or 2 days a week.
Yeah, for sure. And just making sure that you, give yourself that time to rest and...
Well,
and not get overwhelmed, because you're right. Like, as soon as things start getting too overwhelming, like, that's why I don't necessarily start clients. Like, I used to always probably start clients 4 days a week training all the time on my programs. But now if somebody comes to me and they're not training at all, like, I don't start them on 4 days a week training, right? Like, I'm like, oh my God, we have to start, like, really baby steps. Because I can't send you this program that changes your whole diet and changes your whole life, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is too much. So if it's some clients, yes, I'll send them that. But then I'm like, okay, see what you can manage. See how the first week goes. Then maybe we take out a day. Maybe we, like, you have 2 meals a day that you just eat what you want, and then the rest we change, right? So you have to, like, really work individually, I feel like, with each person to,
it's got to work with your lifestyle.
You have to find something that you can consistently do that's manageable.
Yes.
And if you, like, don't try doing these crazy things because your best friend's doing it, but she has grown-up kids or no kids.
Right.
Like, you can't try to, like, you can't see where you are in life and then measure it based on what can I do at my point in life. Not, am I comparing myself to that girl and I should be able to do that because she can do that, right? Like, don't compare yourself to people like, how do you homeschool and how do you work out all the time and stay consistent? And I'm like, because I'm just in a different mind frame. I set my priorities of where they needed to be, and I made that something, but they're also, like we talked about before, better in so many other things than I am, right? So it's like, find out what works for your life and then be consistent with that, right?
Exactly.
And that's a daily changing thing. Like,
you can change from month to month, year to year.
Yeah, because you're like, 100%. This, do it for a month, and then if it's not working, be like, okay, let's do something else. And then this isn't working, do it again, do it again, right?
Exactly.
There's no, like, failure just because you couldn't do what the next girl's doing.
Exactly.
Just find what works for you, and then you'll consistently be able to do it, because it won't be like...
Exactly. And be in it for the long haul. It takes time to build muscle. It takes time to lose body fat. So you need to be, that's why we keep pressing this whole consistency philosophy, because if you aren't consistent for the long haul, you will not see whatever changes that you are after, because you're not giving your body the time that is required. You're not putting in the work that is required in order to make that happen.
Yeah, there was a thing that I keep seeing all the time on Instagram right now, a reel, that's like, a fit body cannot be bought. No. It takes time. You can't buy it. No matter how much money you have, you can't buy it. It's work. It's consistency. It's dedication. So it's not something you can just shell out money and then you just get it and it just happens. Like, that's why the people that in the fitness industry that see people, like when I'm out and I see somebody and I'm like, oh my gosh, they've really put in the work, because we know how long it takes to get to like a certain level, right? It doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
You can't just wake up one morning and be like, boom, oh my gosh, poof, I look amazing and look at this, right? Like, I remember after having babies and people like, whoa, you look so good, like a year later or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, like I did not just come out like this. Like, I was 6 weeks postpartum, taking my baby to the gym with me.
Yeah.
Like, it was hard.
Yeah, but
like,
you did it.
But I did it. But it's like,
because that was what was important for you, and I was no different.
Yeah.
So I actually worked out at home for a while until I could take them to the gym daycare, for sure, because that's just how it was. Like, it was just important to me. I'd get out for walks with the baby all the time. When the baby would nurse or sleep, then I would work out. I had some light weights at home. I just made it work.
Yeah, and if you're not, like, I'm training a client right now and he's just kind of starting again. He's like, I could not do this if you weren't here. Yeah. Like, I just need you because it's way more fun. And I'm like, okay, well, then we have fun when we're at the gym by ourselves. Like, I love that time, right? Like, I love that time. Like, nobody talk to me. I love this. But some people don't enjoy it. So get a trainer, get a partner, get somebody that you can do it with, and make it fun, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. All right, so there are some possible reasons as to why your workouts may not be working. If one of these resonated with you, then now you know what you can do to possibly change it or tweak it so that you can kind of kickstart your workouts again. Thanks everybody for listening today, and we truly appreciate you. And let us know what your biggest takeaway was today, and if you have any questions you want answered on the podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast to automatically receive your episodes and to help us reach more listeners. We would love to connect with you on our socials, either Facebook or Instagram, with links in the show notes. Till next time, keep taking those small steps towards your best life.